So if we're going to do media, we can't follow them. We have to have our own concepts. We have to actually go against what they consider to be media, because what they consider to be media is not media. It's just to excite the people, waste their times in frivolity. And if you're going to be a media for people who are oppressed, you must give them clear political facts, historical facts, scientific facts, so they can accumulate these facts to help in their process of liberation.
What's up, everybody? It's the Flagrant Leftist Podcast, and we have a very exciting episode, very special guest here. Today, I'm Maya. I'm your host, and I'm very excited for what we're about to get into. So, without further ado, who are you?
Mi nombre es Tonāntzin. My name is Tonāntzin.
Dope. And a little bit about, I know, because I'm just excited about the guests we have. You're a part of the Zapatistas, the Autonomous Brown Berets, and yeah, just a little bit about what you've been doing up until this point.
Okay, well, thank you. First of all, I would like to say thank you for having me here. Gracias.
For sure.
Gracias por la invitación. Bueno, let's begin with I am a mother. I am a mujer mexicana. I am a poet.
Revolutionary artist.
Yes, I'm an artesana, and artesana is a folk artist. So I create with my hands. I'm a photographer, a photojournalist, and I got involved in. I consider myself a civil and human rights activist foremost. I've been doing that for about 15, 20 years. I joined the Brown Berets. I became an autonomous Brown Beret in 2015, and. Tengo corazón de Zapatista. I have a heart of a Zapatista. I'm an indigenous woman of Mexico, and I've had the experience of living in both countries.
Facts. Dope. So what is your Brown Beret work like? And if you could explain a little bit of like why y'all are doing what y'all are doing, why y'all do it in the form that y'all do it in. And just for my own curiosity, if the Autonomous Brown Berets is a separate formation from the Brown Berets, or what's that distinction?
Yes. I came across the Brown Berets here in Houston around 2015 when little Josue Flores was killed in Northside. And I knew some history about the Brown Berets, and it goes back to the 1970s, the civil Mexican-American rights movement, the Chicano movement. Just like the Black Panthers, it's lo mismo. We are the same. You know, we are people who have suffered in this country, and we have come together with our own, but we also stand in solidarity with one another, and that's the important word, solidarity.
Facts.
So in the Brown Berets, there's many chapters from all across Aztlán, from Texas to California. And the chapters started emerging in the 70s. And they've set the paved, and they suffered a lot. And they had started popping up again in the 80s.
Okay.
All right. So I was first a member of Carnalismo out of San Antonio chapter. And then Houston created their own group. And at that time, I decided that I like working on my own. And I like working with others, so I became autonomous. And again, every state, every city, they have their own names. We have different patches, but it's all the same.
Yep.
It's all the same. It's one big familia fighting for the same reasons our people have been fighting since the beginning of time, no?
Yep.
So in the Zapatistas, you see the red stitched star.
Yep.
That represents la liberación, like the liberation of our people. That represents struggle.
Yep.
That represents socialism. That represents the people, el pueblo, against the government.
Powerful. Yep.
So you see this transition that I've been going through over the past years. It is not an easy walk. It is a walk that sometimes we do alone. Not everybody may understand it, but we have to be truthful to our convictions.
Yep.
to the people, if we really, really love the people, a true revolutionary love es un amor that is willing to lay down its life for the people. That's what this star represents. It means resiste, resist.
I love that. And I love your I love how you put that, because that's exactly what, just from studying the Zapatistas, that's everything I get. That's why their words, when I'm just reading it, literally give me chills, because they really do represent just what the movement's about. Like you explained, liberation, the people. And you also spoke to being autonomous and sometimes having to forge your own path. So what does that look like, your process of deciding, I want to be autonomous?
I don't like this hierarchy.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I've never done good with that.
Same.
Not in my parents' homes, not at school, not at work, not in my community. I work in solidarity. I work with people in Mexico and in the States. I've worked with Black Lives Matter. I've worked with the Black Panthers. I've worked with AIM. I've worked with Carrizo Come Crudo tribe of Texas. I mean, I will work with everybody who is truthful to the people.
Yep.
And I really don't care what people think of me. Like, people that really know me know the goodness in me, know the love that I have for the people. And again, we live in a country, we live in a world, come on, we live in a world, this is a man's world, no?
Yep.
And our gifts, our contributions to the revolution, they aren't matched just like the man, right? Pero somos más guerreras. I want to say that we are more warriors.
Yeah.
Why? The simple fact that we are women, and some of us are mothers. And when you have to protect a child, woof.
That's powerful.
That right there. So the people, the communities, the tribes, they have accepted me. They have welcomed me. And I work well with others, pero as an artist, as a poet, I like that solitude space, right?
Yep. True. Yeah, you're an artist. That makes a lot of sense too. And I've had similar experiences, not liking the hierarchy and just being dissatisfied, with the with them telling me what to do, who you can work with. That's a very good point you made, that if you're if you're seeking out liberation, then you want to work with them. And it's not necessarily all the time about how you identify or anything like that. You're working with people from a wide range. So I just think that's really cool. And I would be happy to hear, I know we are going to be doing poetry breaks and hearing some art. And if you want, we can hear the first one.
Sure. I will read Indigenous Revolution, which is in print now in the Voices of the Revolution Anthology.
Yes, right here.
Yes, and this poem emerged from my trip to Standing Rock in 2016. As an activist, what I witnessed, what I experienced, and working with up to 300 tribes from all over the world. We're up there. We were up there fighting the pipeline. We were out there defending the Native American treaties, which have never been respected. We were defending our mother and the water, and we came together as one. That was the most beautiful experience.
I can only imagine. That sounds beautiful.
So this poem came from that experience, and it's titled Indigenous Revolution. The conquistadores have long removed their armor and traded them for expensive suits. With their power and greed, they created a money-hungry beast that goes by the name of corporate America. They will never understand the spiritual connection we have to the land, our mother. They have no loyalty to her. They will continue desecrating her in order to feed the beast. For hundreds of years, we have been enslaved in our own lands. Our minds have been controlled by those in power. It is time to awaken and allow our ancestors to help us remember. It is time to put on our spiritual armor and fight to protect what is sacred. Mother Earth needs us. This is not a movement. This is war. It has been declared by the people that we will no longer be ruled by rich cowards who are poor in soul. We will not be ruled by a government who doesn't honor our civil rights. We will not be ruled by a nation that continues to oppress our mother and its people. You may beat our bodies down, but you cannot break our espíritu. Your fear, your violence, and your weapons will not destroy us. They are connected to Creator and Mother Earth. They are sent off into the wind, into the ground, into all living things. Our prayers are alive. They have been sent.
God. And every time I hear your work, it reinforces this idea of like, that is what we need. I can just imagine this as being so digestible to people because your words aren't confusing. When you hear that, you know exactly what you're saying. It's not like theory or books. It's very digestible. And so, God, that's just really powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And I do want to touch on a little bit where you see art and how important that is in the movement.
El arte, art, it is very important because many of us don't have a voice. And it's very simple. You know, in our culture, we were always told like, no hables, be silent. You look a lot prettier like that.
Yeah, literally.
Right? So, you know, as a woman, as an activist, people may not want to hear what I have to say. But if I put it in a poem, in a photo, in art, I'm going to make you listen. So I say that the artists are the true revolutionaries.
Yep.
Because you have a gift. You have a way. You have a beautiful way to make others look at it. Listen, ponder, analyze. And so I started writing poetry in middle school.
Wow, that's beautiful.
When I came across it, I would first just read it, and I would, in Spanish we call it recitar. We would recite, and I fell in love with that. And by middle school, I started writing, and I used to want to share it with my friends, and they would look at me like, like
Poetry.
Right, poetry is not popular, right? So what I would do is I would go back home and I would create beat and I would put this poem in a rap song. I'll go back to school and I'll sing, and my friends would be like, what? They would be like all into
Hell
it.
yeah.
And I'm thinking, man, I just read you the same thing last week.
That's powerful, yeah.
But that's the beauty of poetry, spoken word, rap, photography, painting, dance, you know, song.
Yep.
That you will have an audience.
That's so true. And that's such a indicator that they weren't feeling what you said before, but then you put it to something, made them bob their head a little bit, and they understood it. And so, yeah, that speaks to honestly maybe where our focus needs to be as a movement, as we're gaining more eyes to the movement. Art is going to be pivotal in getting even more of the masses to get on board. So I think that's just amazing. And how do you feel as an artist? Do organizers and activists, how can we support artists in the movement?
Yes, we have amazing artists who are also activists.
True.
Right? These are revolutionary artists.
Yep.
And how can you support us? One, buy our books, buy our photography, buy our painting, our canvases, our jewelry, our instruments. You know, we make so many beautiful things with our hands. I also like when I get invited to protest and marches, I get invited to go and recite poetry. I'm allowed to take my books and sell.
Nice.
I get invited to go sing on my hand drum and sing our indigenous songs. That's support.
Yep.
You are supporting me when you do that. And we need to do it more from one another. And also, I think it's very important that we have in-depth conversations with one another, create real intimacy so that we can understand and get to know, the other activists or the other artists, because most of the time we're just out there in the streets.
True. Very
right?
true.
We're just out there doing our thing.
Yep.
And it's when we take the time and we meet the organizers, the artists, the poets, the singers, the performers, that we can make these real human connections. And,
super true.
And then come back and do things like this, right?
Yep.
Like support one another.
Yep.
So
and
yes.
that would just make our work better if we're having deeper connections amongst each other, for sure. And so, some of the work you were speaking to that you can show up to and that people can get you to show up to or ask you for, I think I've actually seen you out at least, and maybe my memory's foggy, but I think on the drums at a protest I've been to. You mentioned being around a lot during the Sandra Bland protest. So if you could speak to that and sort of on the ground work that you've been doing in Houston.
Absolutely. So I remember when Sandra Bland was murdered. Believed it was during the summer. I was in Mexico with my kids, spending a week over there, and I made it back across Texas, and I started having internet connection. And my close friend, Reverend Hannah Bonner, texted me, and she told me what was happening. And I just, 7-hour drive over here. I started research. I started looking like what is going on. Of course, it hurt.
Yep.
It hurt that I'm back in this country, and that's the first thing I see. So I got connected with Hannah. I got connected with Black Lives Matter. I got connected with the Black Panthers. I got connected with the poets. And we just started organizing and having events at Prairie View. It was often making that trip from Houston, having interviews, having fundraisers, everything.
Yep.
And it is such a tragedy that a powerful, beautiful Black mujer was taken down because of I don't want to say ignorance, like this cop. I have been arrested before. I'm a photojournalist. I have been beaten before. So this cop who was intimidated by this Black woman who was standing her ground.
Yep.
You're going to take her out of the car and treat her like that? And then you're going to take her freedom away, have her arrested, and then she's going to be speaking up her truths, because we will speak our truths even behind your prison walls.
Facts.
So she was murdered. Like many get murdered inside prison. And I think that awoke like this warrior, this lion in a lot of us. And because that could be me.
Yep.
That could be you.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
That was again some powerful work.
It was, and y'all's work with that inspired me a lot. I was a young, around 15, 16-year-old, coming to as many of the Sandra Bland protests as I could, and the unity there with you drumming. I know other artists and poets were out there, and it was so consistent, and there was just something so powerful about you see a lot of the same faces continuing to show up. And Hannah, I met her during that time, and just the people who were taking me under their wing during that those Sandra Bland protests, that, like you said, definitely woke a warrior in me too, and led me to continue organizing and continue the activist work. And that was just a really powerful time. I know I went only to the Waller County Jail once, but I saw y'all a lot out there and in Prairie View, and that was just honestly a pivotal moment in like my awakening. And so just thank y'all for that work for sure, because it was well received, and it was powerful regardless of any of the cases outcome. Like just actually getting together like that was powerful.
Yes.
And so you went from, so that was 2015. Were you able to maintain any of those relationships and continue building for other type of work in other cases, or what? And also I want to touch on, I know you spoke to getting arrested
Yeah.
If that was in Houston, like you can speak to that if you can.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes, when I met a lot of the black organizers, black activists, I stayed in touch because, come on, man, it's like every year. How many more cases are we going to have, right?
Yep.
So George Floyd was big in Houston, right? I mean, come on, he's from Third Ward, you know? So I followed that from the very beginning. I mean, we almost got arrested that night at the downtown marches.
It was wild.
So when it comes to black and brown men, women being murdered by the cops, I'm there. I'm there in uniform. So the incident I had was, I believe, back in 2017. It was out of Pasadena, Texas.
Jeez.
What you call, right? Like the KKK state. So I was actually down there in a date with my husband at the time because a group from Mexico were going to come and play. You know, I love vallenato. I love music. And we were out there to have a good time. But I'm an activist and a photojournalist everywhere I go.
That's true. You don't turn it off.
Never. It does not turn off.
Yep.
So I cannot stand and see injustice. Like, I will not stand for it. So after the concert was over, people were going to their vehicles. All right, so this club has their bouncers, right? But then they've got... they hire cops for security, right? Yep. So there was already like 5 vehicles. And there was this man who was going to his car. People were drinking that night. I mean, it's, people are there to have a good time, but he was still in his fractions, And so he didn't speak English. And we're walking to the car, but I stopped because I just didn't feel right because 3 officers were harassing him, right? And I'm a translator. So I stood there, I grabbed my phone out, and I'm seeing how this man's going to be treated, right? So, of course, they did their usual, beat him down, and he's putting up a fight, and they're just, man, my people are coming from this concert, and you're going to treat one of them like that. I have something to say. So I did, I began recording. The bouncers didn't like it. They was trying to get up all of my face. And then there was about 15 cops in uniform that night. But one white cop, decided he's going to come up to me, take my phone by force. He put his hands on my chest, threw me across the parking. I'm in a dress and heels, okay? What? I was stunned. My husband helps me to get up. I get up, and I look at that cop, and I want my phone back, right? Because it belongs to me, and we have the freedom of press. We have the right to document. So this cop is standing by his car with the door open, going through my phone.
What? Without
a search warrant. Man, I marched up to that damn cop. I grabbed my phone from his hand. And then he decided to arrest me. I have to laugh because... it wasn't funny at the time.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you what. All those cops, and some of them were Mexicanos and Chicanos. And I knew that they felt bad for me. I knew that but none of them spoke up. My husband spoke up for me and told that white cop, hey, don't you think you could have handled this a little better? My husband didn't get arrested, even though he was also documenting, right? So anyways, what an experience when I went to Pasadena prison. Fudge.
And then you had to go, oh my gosh. How long did they hold you for?
My husband put the word out, community found out, people were like, all right, let's bail her out, come on. I had to sit there probably 2 days because it was going on over the weekend. Had to see the judge and all this. But that's not going to stop me. I fought this. I got a civil rights lawyer. I took his ass to court.
Yeah, because that can't stand him doing all that. Like,
my phone was confiscated for a month.
What?
So I had to pay a lawyer. I had to go back and forth to Pasadena for a year. But my case was dismissed, and I stood in front of that effing cop, like, look, I'm still here, cabron.
Exactly. You haven't broke me. You haven't broke my spirit at all.
Nope.
Gosh, good, honestly. And I'm glad you stood up for yourself then and then took it to court and actually beat it. Like, because that could have just went a whole nother way. And
Psh, come on, man. I think that if my husband wasn't there, I could have been beaten, raped, murdered.
Gosh. And that's honest, like, that's the reality of you going out there and speaking up for yourself. And of course, those power-hungry cops are not going to like that. You're like, no, I'm actually going to stand up for myself. Jeez. And so what has your experience been with police as you've done the work here in Houston? Have you been able to avoid that mostly beyond that interaction, or is it confrontation? I know Cherie Dorr, she had some targeting, I feel like, with certain cases and stuff
Oh, yeah. They've been after my sister. They've been after her for a long time.
And honestly, I feel like even if we don't know it, most people like yourself, like Cherie, who have been doing this work, they have their eyes on people like that for sure.
Yes, and we're aware of that, like we are, and but we also know that we have a lot of protection.
True.
And we can't quit because it's going to continue happening, and we have a responsibility not only to be the voice for others, to defend others, but again, as a mother, you know, I have children and I'm teaching them.
Yep.
And I cannot back down because they're going to be doing this.
True.
And for the future generations, you know, so.
And for the Brown Berets, is self-defense one of the pillars of that organization, or is self-defense something that you've taken up personally?
You know, como dijo mi hermano Malcolm X, like my brother Malcolm X says, by any means necessary. By any means necessary. And we have the right to bear arms. And we have the right to defend our homes and our communities.
Period.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't we defend what is sacred?
Yep.
Why wouldn't we fight them at their same level? You know, because my poems and prayers are going to do one thing, but mi arma, my weapon, is going to do something else.
Word. That's powerful. And I think this is a good time if you have another poem to share.
Sure.
Awesome.
A ver, I'm going to read, I have one about my braids, but I'm going to read one, the one that I just shared.
Nice.
That I just wrote about 2 days ago. You know, I am an advocate of the indigenous medicines. All right. And indigenous medicines are part of our spirituality, and we're still fighting to have the right to them.
Very true.
And so that's what this talks about. A ver, it's coming. Sorry.
Oh,
okay.
No problem at all.
I've just been writing a lot lately. It's just like winter solstice came in.
Nice.
Something just clicked. Something.
Love that.
All right. So it says, I don't have a title for this, but it starts, if you take away my medicine, the sacred plant, you take away life, my poetry, my creative gifts, my communion with Creator and Mother, la conexión con mis ancestros, the Great Spirit. The white devils knew this and feared the indigenous plants of the Americas, which are spiritual passage for the people. They criminalized our plants and us. They've kept us asleep with alcohol and pills, stripping us of our spirituality, leaving a sadness and void. No more connection to creation, the earth, the most intelligent healer, We lost her DNA and ability to self-heal. In a state of darkness, they raped our women. They burned our books and art. They exterminated the buffalo in hopes of starving the tribes. They sent our people to die in their wars. They stole Indian children, sending them to Christian camps, American Indian boarding schools, where they were beaten and murdered. They capitalized on our natural resources. They stole our land and our dignity, keeping us like cattle within reservations. They killed our spirits. It's easier to be asleep than to witness the genocide of our beautiful brown people. In the state of darkness, they filled our minds with lies. We were forced to convert and put our hope on the cross, our faith in their Christ. They did that to my ancestors. They continue using religion to oppress our people. If you take away my medicine, if you don't respect freedom of religion, which is what brought you to our continent, if you don't respect indigenous spirituality, the cosmic warriors of Aslan will rise with their Makawitli black obsidian blades, taking off enemy heads, ripping out dark hearts, offering them to the light, the sun, our Lord, Tonāntzin.
God, are you gonna publish your art in any one source type way?
I'm working on the second book.
That is amazing.
Gracias. Thank you, hermana. Yeah, it's a lot of good materials have been coming out, so I know that I need to put out a second book of poetry. Corpus Christi Writers is publishing me next out of their Anthology for 2023.
Okay.
I'll be down in Corpitos in the fall.
Nice.
So yeah, I always try to continue publishing either online or through anthologies, but I know I need to put the work in for my own palabra and put out that second book of poetry.
Because that would be amazing. You have a first book of poetry? Okay, nice. Is it available through like your Instagram? We'll have your Instagram and Facebook in the description.
Yes, I will make it available.
Nice.
I published 2023. The book is titled Puro Corazón, which means pure heart. Poet speaks from the heart. But it's been a long time, and as we evolve as humans, so does our work.
True.
So I know that I need to put this out there.
Very true. I love your work. I love your words. It's just so evident in your writings, in your poetry, that you are doing the work. You are a warrior as well. So it's just powerful. And you spoke about transforming and sort of adapting in the movement. So at what point did you make the switch from mainstream liberal politics, or if you ever started there, and what kind of made you take that switch?
Sure. Let me go back. I came here as a migrant, my mother came here for opportunity. Our people, somos migrantes. We're the cosmic migrants, right? My family's from San Luis Potosí, central Mexico. They migrate up north to Nuevo Laredo, Tamaulipas, then up to Texas. And this has been going on since the beginning of time, But here, we weren't given the same rights, right? Mm-hmm. And we lived in fear because we were undocumented. But when I turned 18, I became a U.S. citizen.
Okay.
And I was proud of that. My parents were proud of that. But that didn't mean much because I was not respected as an American. So I followed the same system, what are you, Republican or Democrat? I'm like, well, a Democrat sounds okay, so I guess I'm a Democrat. And I voted, and I think the last time I voted was when President Obama came. And I started awakening, decolonization, leaving the church, putting out my palabra out there. And I'm like, wait a minute, none of these partidos represent my people or your people.
Yep.
So let's get that straight.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't believe, because if I don't believe in what you're doing, I'm not going to support you. I believe that politicians may start with the right head and the right ideals, and they really want to work for the people and make changes, no? But politicians are politicians. It's only a matter of time before money buys people.
True.
So I don't participate in that anymore. I do participate in La Raza Unida Party. La Raza Unida Party started in the 70s. This is a partido for our people. All right? And if you go back and learn about La Raza Unida Party, it was gaining momentum in the 70s,
really?
Right? And actually, 3 people were murdered. Ruben Salazar, so the party is still there. It's still there, and if I go and vote for anyone, it's going to be for people who I know. People who are doing the work that we do.
True.
People who are sacrificing their lives, their families, for the liberation of our people.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, like los Zapatistas in Mexico, we want to be able to do the same thing here.
Yep.
We want to have our own communities, our own schools, our own foods, our own ways of lives. So,
exactly.
I'm done with this political system here that does not work for the common people.
Exactly. And speaking of the Zapatistas and their autonomous zone and just the work they're doing in building out communities with good government, have you been, or have you heard, what have you heard it's like if you haven't been? Just because I can only imagine that that's just such a beautiful, thing going on.
Yes. I'm a mother. My oldest is 23. My youngest is 17. He's getting older. So now I feel like my time is coming, where I'm able to be a lot more active. I'm able to travel back and forth. I have dual citizenship. I have missed out in a lot of opportunities, bringing up a family. But one of my goals is to actually go to Chiapas, to make all of my gifts, my talents, my resources available to this indigenous people, to be able to live with them, to be able to write with them, to be able to document it, to be able to translate for them. But for now, I'm still here in this country, and I do what I need to do for our people. So there's this group out of Oakland, California that I got connected with. This individual, he is a poet, an editor, and a publisher. His name is Arnoldo Colibri. Colibri means hummingbird. And they have an organization, and it's called Chiapas Support Committee Oakland.
Nice.
And I'll be sharing more information about what this organization does to stand in solidarity from the states. Like, they sell indigenous artwork for them.
That's super cool.
Yeah, they have annual gatherings. They have delegates that actually travel to Mexico. And I would like to start an organization here in Houston.
That would be super cool.
Something like that, where we can support our hermanos from this side of the border. And while you're supporting and standing in solidarity, that's the educational source right there.
True.
We're all teachers and students, and we have a lot to learn from other groups, other communities. And,
very true. And taking that internationalist approach and going and seeing how we can offer solidarity across the world, that is just such a dope thing to do. And it's honestly what we have to do if we're going to actually attack and win against the beast. And obviously the Zapatistas have done that, and they have experience doing that. So I think that would be amazing. I think you would get a lot of support here in Houston with that project. So please let us know any developments with that. Yes. I think you touched on it at the beginning in a really great way. I just want to go back to it. What does make the Zapatistas so special? Because to take on the fights that they have it has just been something that I can't even imagine. So what makes the Zapatistas so special?
To me, porque son indígenas, because they are indigenous people and they refuse to cease, to exist. They have had to stand against el gobierno de Mexico, Mexican government. I think that indigenous people are the most oppressed.
Yeah.
I just feel it. I mean, come on, we have lost our languages. We have lost our connection to the earth. Our teachings, our ancestral knowledge. And what makes this group special to me is because tienen una plataforma para la mujer. They have a platform for the woman. All right?
That's such a good point.
In our indigenous communities, male and female were respected. We each have our own strength and wisdom. And the woman is held at the same level as the man. So we have, la Comandante Ramona, and we have had comandantes, and it's also, I have to point that also, el corazón mexicano, the Mexican heart, it just has a lot of fire. It has a lot of fire.
Yeah, because I mean,
you have to come on, ¿por qué son los zapatistas? Why are they called zapatistas? And it goes back to Emiliano Zapata. So who was Emiliano Zapata? And why did he have to stand up and fight? He didn't. You're not just born an activist. You're not born a revolucionario.
Good point.
Come on, it was when the government took their lands. And ese espíritu de Zapata, it has never died. The Zapatistas believe that his spirit is still alive.
Gosh, I have chills from that. Yeah.
He is still alive in all of us. Right? Because we will not stand for you to come and take our lands anymore. We will not stand for you to take our children. We will not stand for you to commit genocide of our people. Y los Zapatistas, they're willing to die.
And that's it.
That's it. It's plain and simple. The Zapatistas will die. So I'm probably going to die with my poetry book in one hand and my gun on the other hand. And so ese es el corazón que llevamos. That's the kind of heart that we have because of what we have witnessed.
True.
And what we continue to see be done unto our people.
Gosh, I just love hearing that from the horse's mouth, straight from you, because you have a very personal connection to it. A lot of my friends, we love the Zapatistas and what y'all fight for, but to hear it just from a it's honestly, I'm having a fan moment a little bit just myself. I'm just excited. But yeah, what do you think people here can learn from the Zapatistas? I know you touch on a lot of their heart and their spirit. What other things do you think that people here can learn from the Zapatistas?
I think we need to learn the basics. How do indigenous people live? Connected to the earth. Every day. Right? And the spirituality that indigenous people have, it's something very sacred, and it is connected to all the elements and the animals and nature, and love for oneself and for our common brothers and sisters. And we need to also have that pride. I love that they have not given up their indigenous clothing,
Yep.
Because a lot of our people, they couldn't wear their traditional clothing or their long hair and braids, It was shamed. It was looked down upon, who is this Indian? They would rather see a man in a suit. And so I love that about them. They're wearing the clothing that they make by hand, that they're educating their children. They're not leaving their education up to the school system.
Very good point. That's super true.
Yes. that they're growing their own food. I mean, the nourishment that we take, it says a lot about our output, what we're going to contribute to the world.
Very true.
We really should be more conscious about taking in more plant-based foods. And those are some of the things that I really admire about them.
I know, and that would change the landscape here completely if we focus on those things. And we, like them, start being able to build self-sustaining communities. And we do, and you're right, those are the basics, and it seems super simple, but you have to start there. You have to be able to feed yourself to sustain yourself through a war. So, like, anything that we do has to start with the basics, and I think that's an amazing point. Honestly. So if you want to share, I think it would be the last poem. Okay. You could do that, or if you wanted to close with it, however you.
Yeah, I can close with this.
Okay, awesome. You can share it. Yeah.
All right. So this poem is called Trenzas. Trenzas is the Spanish word for braids.
Oh, yes.
My hair is not for adornment. My hair is my identity. I find beauty in my ancestry, the men and women who wore their hair long. I grow my hair so that I am able to braid it and intertwine con las trenzas de las abuelas y los guerreros, harnessing their spiritual wisdom and physical strength. I am very much aware why the Wasishu cut off my people's hair. It wasn't just to have them assimilate. Braids are like antennas, a sixth sense. The enemy feared our spiritual power, our identity, our braids. Some have called me old-fashioned because I won't dye my hair blonde or follow the latest fashion. I have no desire to fit in the gringa's beauty standard. Yo soy indígena. I am indigenous. Mi belleza es cosa de diosas. Mi cabello es un hermoso color castaño, como las montañas de la Sierra Madre. I am not ashamed of my gray hair. It means I've had the blessing of aging. I am alive. Mis canas son la nieve que decoran las montañas. Mis trenzas son sagradas. My braids are sacred. They are my spiritual strength. I call on my ancestors when I braid. It's a ceremonial ritual. It's how we connect. Be wise in who you allow to touch your hair. It is sacred. It is an extension of our spirit. My hair is not for adornment. My hair is my identity. Gracias.
Gosh. Thank you. And I love your poetry as well, because I feel like as a Black person, it's really easy to connect with your struggle when I hear it in poetry form in a way that it's just so apparent to me. And to hear it like that, I just love it. And I love hip hop, so that's probably a little bit also why it connects so much to me when I hear it in poetry form. But yeah, I love where we left off. I think you gave very concrete things we can start with, because my last question was, where do you see the future of the movement here? But I think the things you laid out, like growing our own food, being more connected to the land, and the easy things that we can start should be the future. And hopefully that is the future of the movement. So yeah, where can people support you and also the work your organizations are doing?
Sure.
And we'll obviously put links in the bio, but if you want to just plug it now.
I'm gonna touch on that real quick, that last question that you left off. So yes, support me. I am in social media through Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I go by Tonāntzin Rodriguez. Support my books, my poetry. Everything that I share has to do with the arts. It has to do with the movement. It has to do with the people's fight. All of our fight. So support the other activists, organizers, and artists. But I want to leave with this point. You said, where's the future, right? The future of the movement. Mm-hmm. I believe that the future or what I would love to see is that since we live in a native nation, there should be more indigenous women in command. It is only then that you are going to witness real change for all humanity and for our Mother Earth. That is what I would like to see. Our future has to be led by las mujeres, because it has been led by the men. And what have we seen but wars and destruction? So when you put more indigenous women in power, you're going to see the shift. You're going to see the betterment of all humanity.
I believe it. And I absolutely believe your words with that. I would love to put forth effort to include in the organizing spaces. I am indigenous women. So I think that's a very good point to leave off with. I want people to be able to sit with that and really digest that. So thank y'all for watching. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. And that's our episode. So that is it. Thank you so much. That was freaking amazing. I know, all in one, no cuts.